everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today's episode, we are talking about who do you hire first? So let's say that your business has grown to the point where you're like, hey, I've got way too much to do and not enough time to do it all. What do you do? Well, you should hire somebody, right? So, okay. For the purposes of this discussion, we're going to talk about hiring. There's ways that you can automate. There's ways that you can reduce your load without hiring people. Okay, but that's not what we're talking about, because there does come a point where automation just doesn't make sense. Maybe it's cost prohibitive, or you just don't have the facilities for the type of automation you're thinking of. But like, say you are a business owner of some type, whether that is a retail store, maybe you got like a LAN center, or maybe you're a streamer or a sports betting company, right? Like it doesn't really matter what kind of business. As you're growing your business, you go through different stages. And if you Google, I don't remember the exact name of it, but like you got a Harvard Business Review, what is it called? The stages of business growth, I think it's called. So there's like 5 stages that businesses go through. And the first one is like you're a brand new startup. It's basically just you figuring out what you're doing. After that, you start to figure out how to survive. Okay. So you actually have a business now, you're struggling to survive. And then after that, you're starting to really build out and starting to scale. So I'm talking about that phase where it's not just you anymore. Well, who do you hire? Okay, well, obviously, the answer is going to depend on how much money you have. But let's assume for a moment you have unlimited income. All right, so money is not an object. What do I do, Brad? Well, that changes calculus, because if money is not an object, why do you need more salespeople? But I would hire salespeople. Salespeople are like the crux of all businesses. If you do not have a good salesperson on your team, you are losing money. Okay. Even if you are a content creator who's posting over on YouTube, you're losing money because, one, you're not making any money over on YouTube, not really, compared to what you can actually make if you were leveraging the audience you had and selling merchandise. Okay. So like if you look over in the esports space, right, you have the teams making basically nothing. I have searched for 2 years now, looking for somebody in the esports space who's making money. And the people who are making money are the game developers / publishers and people who are doing wagering, like being middlemen in the middle of people wagering against each other while playing competitive gaming. Okay. Other than that, I haven't really found anybody making like money in the esports space. So why is that? Why are they not making money? It's because they're not selling enough stuff. Right? I mean, they can win tournaments. Like the biggest teams do win tournaments and they win millions of dollars, but that's a drop in the bucket compared to their expenses. Like the vast majority of the income the esports teams are through marketing relationships, affiliate relationships. So they call them sponsorships. They're not really sponsorships. Okay. They're marketing relationships where an advertiser comes in and they want to hire the team to promote their thing. So that's why you'll see like Gucci pair with the esports teams, or Lexus pairing with the esports teams. It's not because they want to hand esports players Lexuses. It's because they know that they have eyeballs. They have people watching them. And so it's a marketing relationship. Okay. The amount of money that those teams are actually making when it comes to selling merchandise and generating revenue and income on their own steam is just minuscule compared to the amount of money they're actually making from those relationships. So if I was on that side, I would you guys need to figure out how to sell more. Same thing on the simple content creator who makes the videos, him or herself or themselves, and they're trying to figure out how to make more money. Well, you need to be selling stuff. Okay, whether that's t-shirts or hats or mugs, those are simple things. You can do info products, you can do books, you can do video content. I mean, there's only like 25, 30 options of things you can sell. There's not that many. And they come in different varieties, obviously, right? Mugs are a type of merchandise. So are, paper clips. It's a type of merchandise. But so first person I'd hire is salespeople. If you have somebody on your team or you yourself are already a phenomenal salesperson, I would go and hire an advertiser. Okay. Advertising does a couple things. First of all, it helps you sell more, but more importantly, it actually gets you more eyeballs. And advertising and eyeballs are the lifeblood of all businesses. If you do not have the ability to get people to see you or find you or know of you in this world, you don't exist, right? Like, God, I don't remember what I was watching. I was watching some documentary and it was talking about how millennials are always so scared of FOMO, the fear of missing out, right? And that's why we sit glued to our cell phones watching people on beaches and bikinis and, on private jets. We're like, oh man, I wish I was there. It's that fear of missing out. I wish I could get there. I hope I can do that. What can I do? And so when events come up, people buy. And so anyway, we have this fear. And because there's this fear of missing out, people are glued to their electronic devices. And you know this, you all know this. Like, you're probably better millennials than I am, or Gen Z, or maybe you're a boomer for all I know, right? You know that people nowadays are pretty much glued to their phones. And so if you want your company to be found, you have to advertise. And having a good media buyer is worth their weight in gold. If they know how exactly to find your specific audience that's going to consume your content, one, but drive those consumers to then make purchases. Okay. Probably the main issue in that esports space is the fact that they're so concerned with getting the eyeballs that they haven't considered how to translate the eyeballs that they are getting into purchasers. And it's not just put an ad in front of people. That's one way. It's kind of a longer term. You're not really going to make a lot of money, but you're going to make some money kind of thing. You need to think of the process. What is the sales process? So they see my ad for the first time. They learn who my esports team is, as an example. And do I sell them immediately thereafter? Probably not. I might, send video content their way for a couple weeks. I might, have some free downloads that they can get with my team logo. But then maybe start pushing merch. Start pushing them to go check out my tournaments and whatnot. It's more than just ads. Okay. Marketing nowadays is not like the old days where, like, I read a book. I apologize. I do not remember the name of the book, but it was discussing like the history of marketing. And like the first time there was an ad on radio, people were ready to revolt and like burn down the radio stations because how dare they sully our family time with advertising, right? And nowadays you barely get a song and then you get 4 or 5 ads. So that's advertising is not just there's the product anymore. I mean, it can be, but that's not really how it works. You need to it's called content marketing now. We give people lots of content and kind of sneak in the ads now and then. But if I was building a business, I would make sure I have someone who can make sales. And I would make sure, or at least understand sales psychology, copywriting, sales processes, and all those fundamentals. And then I would hire an advertiser. If you have those two things, you can make money forever, so long as you're able to create stuff. Beyond that, the quick, dirty grabbing of cash, I consider hiring someone to actually run your business, because you most likely are being a business owner, especially if you're an entrepreneur, is fraught with danger, because we're not used to, or we're not trained to be doing what we're doing. We had to figure it out along the way, right? And so if you can go and you can hire somebody who knows how to run an organization, who already understands long-term marketing strategies, understands how to handle people, understands all the various aspects of growing and building businesses and maintaining those businesses and budgeting. If you can hire someone who worked at a Fortune 500 for the past 20 years, and that was like all they knew in their life, like that person has more experience than you by far, most likely, and is probably a better person to run your business than you are. You can be the visionary. I'm not saying you step back and completely remove yourself from the business. It is an option. There's such thing as it's the absentee owner, right? It's tough to do, but if with enough money and enough revenue coming in, you can do anything you want. That's ultimately the goal. Is if you're not thinking too small. If you're thinking big, the goal is to set up a business of whatever variety that you're currently doing, and then have the staff to do all of the work for you and not need you. Okay. If you are in content development, content creation, it's a little tougher to be an absentee owner because you're kind of like the personality. You're the front, you're the thing making the content. Doesn't mean that you have to be stuck at your desk 24/7. All right. I know plenty of streamers who are contracted to be at their desk 6-7 days a week, and that sucks for them. And they don't get to do anything. They have to sit in there, play video games all day long. But that doesn't mean you have to. If you set up your business properly, maybe you only go live for an hour a day, and then you shoot maybe another hour of footage that then gets turned into social media content that's posted on all the various platforms for the next week or two. And it's cut up and split up and turned into various different things and quote cards. And, if you hire the marketing team to do that for you, you don't have to worry about it. Like, there's so much of what you currently do that could be outsourced. Okay. And, on that note, you don't even have to hire these people technically, like W-2 employees. You have to hire people. You can do contractors, independent contractor relationships. So in that situation, the person may charge more, maybe not, than a person that you actually hire as a W-2 employee. What you can do in those situations is you hire different people from all over the world, see who's the best person for the job by actually having them do stuff, and then just use the ones that you liked. There's lots of different ways to do this. Just Google it. If it's something you're considering and growing and scaling your business, and you don't have the slightest clue of how even to begin, start with the Google. All right. That's what I used when I was a lawyer. People would say, "Man, we've got this crazy issue in the law. No one knows what the answer is. Brad, can you go figure it out for us?" And I'm like, "Sure." And I would go to Google and I would type in my exact question that I had. And I would usually get a case or two that gave me kind of a starting place. And I was off to the races. And I was well ahead of most other people who were doing the same research because they were starting in places that didn't make sense. But understand that technology today is so phenomenal compared to what it was 20 years ago. You may not have been alive 20 years ago, but it's so far ahead of what it was that you can really just ask your question and you'll get an answer. Like there's no magic to it. I know people who try to game the system, and they're typing in questions that they think will get them the right answer. And I'm like, it's natural language, guys. Just ask your question. Whatever. All right. Well, I got another list. Let's see. Executives, ads. That's it. Customer service. Oh, that's a big one, guys. Customer service. You need to have a customer service person, division, company that you're hired out to, because customer service is one of those, it's like the third rail of businesses that businesses completely ignore. It's this thing that's really dangerous. If you aren't paying attention to your customer service issues, it could sink your entire business. It could crush it, because all it takes is a few people to be a little bit upset about what you're doing, start posting all over social media, and it creates the snowball effect of all these haters, and people don't purchase from you. It's really bad. Because imagine that you get famous. All right. Maybe you're putting these dollars into advertising, you're putting dollars into salespeople, and they're actually making sales. And maybe you're making 100 sales a day of whatever it is you're selling. Okay. Over the course of 1 month, 100 times 30, as an example, is 3,000 sales. Okay. Out of those 3,000 sales, you could probably expect 20 to 40% of people to have an issue or want a refund or have a question, or that's a lot of people, right? That's 1,200 people who have issues or want returns. And that's a lot of time spent on your computer if you're trying to do this yourself, answering emails and taking returns and repackaging and having to send out boxes. And you don't want to do any of that. It just doesn't make sense. It's not good business. Find a way to outsource that work. Okay. Find a way to insource that work if you really want to have the control over it. Just understand that customer service is something that people don't really consider, but it's really important, especially if you actually do take off. So that's really what I want to talk about. Who do you hire first? Because I don't think I've really talked about that yet on this show. I'm going to remind you all, organization is the enemy of sloth. It's kind of tough for me to tell you exactly who to hire. Maybe you need to hire a event organizer. right? Some sort of person who does planning of events, because that's kind of the business you want to do. Well, that would be your salesperson, kind of, maybe not, right? Maybe you need a salesperson in addition to your event planner who goes and books your venues and gets your sponsors and all that. And your salesperson has to get the people there, right? You have to know what your business is and what you're expecting to do in the future, and how to grow it and scale it in the most effective and efficient way. It's without actually talking to me, Google and figure out kind of this type of business. How do I hire? Who do I hire? You'll get answers. There's thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of people who've already written on these topics. Growing and scaling businesses, a little bit of luck, but a lot of hard work. So that's what I got for you all today. I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.